Hey everyone, welcome back. My name is Michael, and as always, we're going to be getting into some more stories. If you enjoy, make sure to leave a like, and if you're new, I'd appreciate if you subscribed. Without further ado, let's begin. This story was posted by a user named Eat a Moon Pie in the relationship advice subreddit. The post is titled, "My brother's widowed fiance's dead husband is not dead." For as long as I can remember, my brother's been the golden boy and I've been the mess up. I'm obviously an accident. I had some difficulties in school, and by the time I came around, my parents were peaking in their careers and too busy for me, and he was too old to hang out with me. About 2 years ago, Golden Boy introduced us to his girlfriend, Sarah. She's beautiful, tall, and tragic, exactly my brother's type. Sarah said she was previously married, but her husband suddenly died from a rare heart condition. Basically, he dropped dead at around 28 or 29. In the aftermath, she left her home state, went no contact with her family and old friends. My brother says they were harmful during her grief journey, moved across the country, and reinvented herself. This was about 4 years ago. Immediately, I did not like her. She seemed fake. It was just a vibe thing that I couldn't vocalize. But also, it didn't matter. My parents loved Sarah. Like, the moment they met her, they started including her in family vacations and birthday dinners, and within a few months, my mom was saying stuff like, "I think she's the one for your brother." Sarah has no social media, she has a super unusual last name, and over the past 2 years, I've Googled her from time to time. Some recent stuff comes up, like things related to her job, but nothing from before her move and nothing related to her husband. Nothing comes up, and she's cagey and weird about him. If you ask anything about what he was like or his name, she gets teary and then Goldie jumps in. They got engaged a few months ago, so every conversation right now is about wedding planning. Sarah has very few friends, none from her past life, so I'm in the bridal party with some of their mutual friends. We went bridesmaid dress shopping a few weeks ago, and I went to Venmo her payment for my dress. Then I was like, I wonder how far back this goes. Pretty freaking far. Mostly payments between her and my brother and to a hairstylist and nail artist, but I saw one Venmo from a guy that looked like it was for living expenses. When I Googled him, I found his Instagram, and on his Instagram, I found a wedding photo from 2017. In that wedding photo, he was the groom and Sarah was the bride. And that dude is still alive. Like, very alive. He posted 3 days ago, he's remarried with kids. I found her siblings, her old maiden name, and her whole old life once I found her ex's account. So I don't know what to do. Part of me is like, maybe the relationship ended badly and that's why she goes around saying he's dead. Part of me is like, maybe she's in witness protection, she's screwed if she is, because I eventually found her. Part of me is like, do I need to tell my brother? Do I tell her, like, pull her aside and be like, hey sis, what's up? I screenshotted everything, so I have proof. I just don't know if I should sit on it or tell someone. Update. I felt really affirmed by a lot of the comments that I shouldn't involve my parents at all, and she might have a tragic reason for changing everything in her life or be a victim, so I shouldn't approach it like I'm happy to be stirring the pot. I ended up texting Goldie to ask if I could call him on Tuesday night. When I called him, the freak put me on speaker because they were cooking, so I was like, screw it, and I just told them everything about the Venmo, the husband's Instagram, etc. I framed it like I'm nosy and I don't care, but I wanted to say something in case Goldie didn't know or you both don't want other people to find this. And Goldie was like, you're an idiot, of course I know, because their marriage certificate will say that she's been married before. For a moment, I thought we were going to get into a fight. But honestly, Sarah kind of diffused it, and the three of us ended up talking for a few hours about Sarah's background. Why she lied, my and Goldie's parents, and our relationship. I won't go into everything we talked about, but basically, Sarah grew up religious. I don't want to say too much because I don't want to disparage people in this religion, but she said that it's closer to a cult than a real faith. I don't know enough about it to comment. Around 5 or 6 years ago, she started having doubts and eventually left it. Unfortunately, in this religion, if you leave, everyone is supposed to avoid you. So her family and friends stopped talking to her, and the relationship with her husband got really tense. She said he was the only person who could talk to her, but the love was gone. She felt like the church was trying to torture her back into joining, and that made her think, screw it, we ball. Like, if everyone's going to act like I'm dead, I might as well start a new life. So she moved away, started dating, divorced her husband, and picked a new last name. She said that at first she told new people her background, but knowing about her old faith made people judge her and ask a lot of questions she wasn't comfortable with. So eventually she just started telling people she was a widow because it was easier and was how she felt. When she first met my brother, that's what she told him. She told him the truth a few months into dating. Goldie says they decided together to keep her background from my family for reasons that make a lot of sense, considering the type of people my parents are. Ultimately, I'm glad I told them. For the first time, maybe ever, I feel like I'm a part of something with my brother. It's weird, but kinda nice. One conversation won't undo the past 24 years of our relationship, but I feel bad for underestimating him and writing her off. It's not his fault that he's 100,000 years old and that our parents kind of suck. We had a nice Christmas together and I could tell they both were trying to engage with me more than usual, maybe because they have some respect for me, maybe because they're scared, but either way, I feel a little seen by them and I feel like I see them more. This story is one of the stranger ones, but it's good to hear that the ending is pretty positive. The so-called lie at the start definitely had me feeling some type of way, but as it unfolded and revealed a more complicated situation, I was shocked. There were a few comments who viewed the widow story as manipulation, but I think it's more like an attempt at coping with grief. It's great that the brother found that he could trust OP to the point of revealing the entire story, and hopefully the bond between all three is stronger because of it. This next story was made in the Legal Advice UK subreddit by a user named BestEver2003. The post is titled, "I just got home to find a car parked on my drive, plugged into my car charger. What can I do, and should I talk to the police?" As the title says, I've just gotten back from a weekend away, and when we got home, we found a car in our driveway plugged into our car charger. The outside gates had been opened to allow access, and the car seems to have been there for less than an hour. It's at about 8% according to the charger. I've switched the charger off at the wall, so no more free electricity for them, and their charging cable is now locked to the box, the default behavior when there is no power. I've also locked the gate shut. Do I report this to the police as theft, and what will they do? I know that if they want to leave, I must release the gates. I've locked them to make sure they don't try to drive off. Can I leave the power off on the charger and hold the charging cable to ransom, assuming they can disconnect it when there is no power? Update. I don't know if this is allowed on this thread, but since so many people have DM'd me for an update, here it is. The car was still there when I left for work this morning. According to the two cameras, the owner returned at about 23:50, but after checking the locked gate and the charger, he left without ringing the doorbell. I got a call this morning from my neighbors telling me that someone was using a cutting tool on the gate and that they had called the police. I went home and found the police, my neighbor, and the car's owner in my driveway. He was in his 50s and seemed to be some sort of businessman. He told the police he had been staying at the hotel just around the corner and that one of the hotel staff had told him there was a charger in my driveway he could use. Our house was empty for 6 months prior to us moving in, so perhaps they had been using it for guests for some time. The owner was very upset that I had locked them in, but the police kept everything calm. Upon inspection, they had already damaged the charger to retrieve their cable, and even though they denied it, it was clear from the dog cam footage that they did it. They had also damaged the gate quite badly while trying to open it. The upshot is that they were arrested for criminal damage to the gate and charger, and the police are arranging for their car to be removed as it has no charge and cannot be driven off. I'm off to have a serious conversation with the hotel manager and to follow up on getting a new charger as ours is now broken. Honestly, if it were me, I probably would have called the cops immediately after seeing the car plugged into my charger. I wouldn't have closed off my property and waited until someone showed up. But after learning about the so-called arrangement the hotel had with their guests, this smells like lawsuit money in the making. I also want to touch on the owner of the vehicle. The guy is an absolute moron. If anything, simply stating that it was a misunderstanding likely would have sufficed. The guy didn't need to go all out and damage the property. Because of that, he just came across as extremely entitled.